In this video, we look at the group of 7. So let's start. That is the G7. It is an important international organization. So let's start. So first we'll see how the G7 originated. That is the group of 7 originated. So originating from an ad hoc gathering of finance ministers in 1973, the G7 has since become a formal high-profile venue for discussing and coordinating solutions to major global issues, especially in the areas of trade, security, economics, and climate change. So this was a this was a ad hoc gathering of finance ministers of different countries in 1973, and it was initiated by France. And after that, it has become a high profile venue for discussing and coordinating solutions to major global issues, and especially in the areas of trade, security, economics, and climate change. Earlier also, it was due to the security in economics that this organization was formed due to the oil crisis in 1973, and it has withstood many such crises like 2008-9 economic financial crisis, etc., or the 2008-9 depression, etc. So let's move further. In this G7, each member state's head of government or head of state, along with the Commission President and Council President of the European Union, meet annually at the G7 summit. So there are 7 members, and mainly there are 6 members, and the seventh one is the European Union. So earlier, Russia was also a member, but after the annexation of Crimea, it was removed, and a resolution was passed, and Russia itself withdrew itself from the G7 organization in 2018. But in this slide, we will look at the members who constitute this group. So, who are the participants? So the participants are the member of each state's head of government or head of state, that is the prime minister or president, whatever the country has, and along with the commission president, that is the G7 commission president. So and council president, that is the European Council president, and the European Union president. So they meet annually at the G7 summit. That is, it is organized annually, and each country, there is a specific list according to which, or an order according to which, this summit is organized. G7 summit is organized, and each country hosts this annually. Each country is a host annually, and the countries change annually after 1 year. So, and there are some observer states also in this G7 summit. So now we will move on to the next slide. So G7 was founded primarily to facilitate shared macroeconomic initiatives in response to contemporary economic problems. The first gathering was centered around the Nixon shock, that is the oil crisis, in the 1970s energy crisis, and the ensuing global recession. So this was why the G7 was founded, primarily to facilitate shared macroeconomic initiatives in response to contemporary economic problems. In March 2014, as I told you that earlier, there were only 6 members. Then Canada was added in 1976, and Russia was added in 1997. So in 1997, Russia became a member. So it became from G6 it became G7 when Canada was added in 1976, and G8 when Russia was added in 1997. But after that, Russia annexed Crimea. That is, in 2014, March 2014, Russia was suspended by G7 members from the political forum G8 following the annexation of Crimea, as it was as Russia violated the UN treaties. So it was suspended, and in January 27, Russia announced that it would permanently leave the G8, which came into effect in June 2018. So this was why Russia was removed, and Russia withdrew itself, and then in 2018 it again became the G7 because there were 7 countries. So now we'll look at what is G7. The G7, originally G8, was set up in 1975 as an informal forum bringing together leaders of the world's leading industrial nations. So as we can see here, these 7 countries, or the 7 members. So these 7 members constitute a great deal of global GDP. That is almost 46% of the global GDP, and almost 36 to 40% of the global population. So these countries represent, and we can see that European Union is in G7. European Union is the observer state. So The main countries are Canada. First, it was initiated by France, then Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, United States, and the Canada. So these are the 7 countries, and then the annual G7 summits have over the years developed into a platform for determining the course of multilateral discourse and shaping political responses to global challenges. So it helps in shaping political responses to global challenges, and it complements the role of the G20, which is widely regarded as the framework for ongoing global economic coordination. In G20, we will look at it in further videos, but in G20, I will tell you in brief that there are many other European nations as well as Asian nations also. It is the group of 20 most economically powerful countries in the world, and G7 is the G7 is the organization of 27 most economically or most developed countries in the world, or most industrialized countries in the world, which contribute a great deal to economic GDP as well as have a high human development index. So this is what G7 is. The summit gathers leaders from the European Union and the following countries: Canada, which became a member in 1976, then France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States. So these are all the members of the G7, and Russia was removed. So this is, you can see these slides if you want to revise. So each member state's head of government or head of state, along with the Commission President, that is the European Commission, that is the G7 Commission President, and the European Council President of the European Union. European Commission President and the Council President of the European Union meet annually at the G7 summit. So these are the people who are the participants. Now we'll move further. So we will look at what are the objectives of the G7 summit. So it is capable of setting the global agenda, because decisions taken by these major economic powers have a real impact. The political direction set by these leaders on the policy issues will have a ripple effect across many other international organizations and institutions. So as these are the most economically stable or economically powerful, as well as these countries contribute a great deal to world GDP, as well as have a high human development index and purchasing power parity, as well as high per capita income. So the decisions and the policies that they make, and the decisions and the policies that are taken in the G7 summit affect the whole world. And also, so other international organizations also take decisions based on the decisions of the G7 summit, so, and these countries. So it has a ripple effect across the world. So now the second thing is that the decisions taken at the G7 are not legally binding but exert strong political influence. That is, it is not an official organization. So but the decisions taken are not legally binding. That are some that it should not that it is not that if some country is a member of G7, then the decisions taken should be very very strictly followed by the country. It may follow the decisions, it may not follow the decisions, but it has to contribute what it can towards the policies and the decisions taken by the G7. So it exerts a strong political influence. After that, more objectives are to identify and work together on issues pertaining to security, economics, climate change, peace, and geopolitical issues. That is, to identify and work together on issues pertaining to security of economics. That is why it was started in the 1970s. Climate change, peace, geopolitical issues. These are the new issues which have been added further. Climate change, peace, and geopolitical. Then developing framework for the regulation of above issues. So framework for regulation of above issues is also developed by the G7 summit or the G7 countries. After that, these are the member countries, as you can see here: G7, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and United States. And the European Union is an observer union, as you can say. It is a union of European countries, and it is an observer state. It also participates in the G7 summit, and it is an observer state. It has been given the credential of an observer state. That is, it can observe, and it can also give its recommendations to the policies and the decisions. But there are some things there are some of the provisions which the observer states don't get, which the member states get. So these are all the main countries of the G7 which form the G7 organization, international organization. So now, in this year, it was organized. I will also talk about some current affairs. That during 2022, it was organized in Germany, and the German Chancellor was the president. German Chancellor was the Germany was the presidency, so the German Chancellor organized this event or the summit, and the president is always the president of the G7. It has a different president, that is who will host the G7 summit. So the president is elected, and it has a different president, and the India was also invited in this G7 summit. So this is all about the current affairs of the G7 summit. So now we will move on to the further slides. As you can see, these are all the these are the slides. As you can revise these slides, and this will be very helpful to you during your mains preparation, because these are short notes, and it will be very helpful for you to make notes during mains preparation. So please give some time and please read these important points, because there is nothing more in this G7. All the important points have been highlighted in this video. So as you can see, you can revise it again and again. It will always be in your mind. So you can write these points, you can take the inspiration from these points and write it in your answers, imbibe it and inculcate it in your answers. So these were all the important points of the G7. In next video we'll talk about the G20, and till then I have again played this slide so that you can revise it and you can take screenshots whatever you want. And these are the most important points. These are the objectives one, and these are the 4 objectives of G7, and these are the member countries. So now we will see in the next video. In that video we'll talk about further international organizations.